So once again, thank you all for joining this class. Most likely, this will be the last class of this science and, or rather, as Genesis and Origin series. There are a few more areas that I talk about, like evolution and and so on. But I think for now I can skip that and continue with the new series from next week, that is world religion. In another 3 to 4 class, I should close up the whole session, and then thereafter, if y'all want to understand more on any of the other topics like intelligent designer or evolution or the Einstein's theory, not Einstein, sorry. The recent scientist who passed away, the grand design, his theory and how do we look at it, we can take that as a class. Okay, so for now today, I'll just recap what we did last week. So we looked at the question of who made God, rather how did God exist on his own. How is it possible to come into existence on your own and to sustain on your own. So we looked at that as we increase dimensions, as we keep on adding dimensions, we see the complexity also increases. And as we go higher in dimension, the complexity in which one can operate also changes. And the highest level of physical dimension of reality, physics dimension of reality, we understand that somebody who is on the 10th dimension can do anything that he or she imagines. Okay, each dimension is like a ladder, steps in a ladder, and God is not just he's on the 10th dimension. He covers all the 10 dimensions of what we know. So he is a great God. And we also looked at the population of heaven. The reason we looked at the population of heaven is to understand that we are just a small creature, and there are really many kinds of creation that exists in heavens, starting with the creatures that has got eyes, 4 living creatures who's got eyes in and out, who are the chariot bearers of God. And then we have the elders, we have also so many angels, we have unnumbered praising angels. And compared to that, and then right at the bottom, we as human being exist. But God's love is so much for us that he came to this earth to save. He has a heart and a desire for a man like us, a creation like us. So that's how we also looked at Nephilims. Who are these Nephilims? We know that Nephilims are the one in Genesis chapter 4, 6, and then in Numbers are two different one. The Nephilim, the words Nephilim means fallen from the position which they have. Okay, so these are these things we covered, and today's class we will talk about the archaic human beings. Who are these archaic human beings? So let me share my slide and take this up from there. So the reason why we take this topic, okay, before I head towards that, I also want to just share with you that we as Christians are facing challenges from people from different world. When I say different world, means there are people coming from the world of science, and then we have people coming from the world of philosophy. We have people coming from other religious worldviews or different perspective, and they all ask questions. Some are really critic, while some are asking questions to get more clarity. So when we deal with them, there are a lot of people who come on YouTube and make statements, or people who go on Reddit and write comments. I'm not talking about those people, because what they write and what they say have no validity. Their statements and what they speak or what they talk about has no substance to back what they're saying. It's not a recognized research work. It's just they say what they feel like. But what I am talking about is questions that have been raised by scientists, by biologists, by geologists, and they are supporting their work with a lot of evidences, okay, a lot of observations, a lot of calculations, and they are people who have produced materials, and that has been published in scientific journals and in philosophical journals, or rather in the academic world. They have a standing in the academic world, and they are the ones who's raising all sorts of questions, and we are trying to answer those questions in the most comprehensible, most the most realistic way. So that is what we are trying to do. We are not trying to address all sorts of people, who just come and say anything. The reason I said is, like, the more and more evidence we produce, we will still find people completely rejecting it, and completely looking down on what we produce, our work as a Christian, the work that is produced by Christian scientists and theologians is completely looked down. So they are actually, their work, that's not what we are trying to address. And also, as I said, like, whatever material that I have produced you, I'm a secondary or a tertiary user of data, but I rely completely on primary on data that is coming from primary sources who have done first-hand research, like the apologists or theologians or scientists. And whatever I teach or whatever I speak, I can always point you to refer you to a published work in academic circle, in an intelligent circle. Okay, so we will face a lot of questions when we get into the academic world. We do face a lot of, or scholarly world, we will face a lot of questions. But how do we answer them? We should not get too carried away in intelligence, intellectualism. We need to make a balance, scripture and any findings which we need to test if those findings are supported by the scriptures. So scripture is our fixed point of reference. Any findings that is not supported by scriptures, we may need to be very cautious on how to approach them, because it should not be something that is simply coming by a man's mind or Satan feeding all those things. Okay. So I just wanted to let you know, because this again is a topic which, when I talk about, not easy to accept, but please just look at from the different points of view that people hold. And as I said, we all are free to, as long as we give glory to God, and God is the source of all of each and everything in here. We are fine. So coming with that, I'll head on to this topic, and feel free to ask me questions, stop me and ask me those questions, okay? Or else we will open up towards the end of these questions. So my title of today's class is, Who Are These Archaic Humans? Now, people look at this topic in different ways. So this topic came up in, what happened is, a computational biologist by the name Josh Swamidass. Okay, he sees a Christian, but he happened to raise a concern, and then his work was published. And as a defense to the work published, one of the greatest apologists of today's time, the number one apologist, Dr. William Lane Craig, wrote a defense to that, and I have summed both of them together and presenting my today's class. So they looked at this topic in a very different angle, but I am looking at it in a totally, the content is more or less the same, but I am looking at giving a different point of view. They are talking about how to arrive at the age of Adam, but my question is a little different. I fine-tuned it as per my class. So as we see, the science, when I say people coming from the world of science, they say that man has evolved from ape. Okay, and there are interstage species, and the picture that you see on my slide is a very common image that you will see across when we talk about evolution, how man has evolved from ape and through different stages. Okay, the reason why they say that man has evolved, and they are able to present evidence for the interstage, as you see, the first images that you see is the ape, and the last image is the man. So in between they have evidence of of man, of interstage species. Okay, and that's what they call. But we know from the scriptures that God created Adam and Eve, and if that's the case, then the question is, who are these archaic? We call them archaic humans. Who are these archaic humans? So that's what I want to deep dive today. So keeping that in mind, I want to first take you through how the science is looking into it. Okay, so let me go to the next slide. Okay, so this is a typical taxonomy that we must have studied in our schools. We start with the kingdom. Man is coming under the kingdom of animal, and within the animal kingdom we have the class, which is mammal, and under the class we have the order, which is the primates. Okay, within the next level is the family. In the family we belong to the family of hominid. Okay, in hominid we have the great ape, okay, the pongo, which are the orangutans, and the chimpanzee orangutans. Then we have the pans, which are the chimpanzees, and the gorillas. So all of these things, the ape, the pongo, the pans, chimpanzees, and the gorilla, they are the family of hominids. Okay, now you go one level down to the after the family comes the tribe, and in the tribe we have the hominins, which are the humans, and the chimpanzees and bonobo. So these are we are classified, we are together with just chimpanzee from the tribe per se. Then comes the next stage, which is the genus. So our genus is Homo. Homo means human, and in genus Homo we have only the human lineage after divergence from the common ancestor chimpanzee. So that is how they have classified man, the breakdown, the taxonomy of where man fits in the animal kingdom. Okay, so this is where we as now I have come to the genus Homo. Now within the genus Homo we have certain species called the Homo habilis, Homo erectus, and Homo rudolfensis. Okay, they are considered as the archaic species. Okay, and then comes the last of the thing of the archaic species is Homo heidelbergensis. Within the Homo heidelbergensis, I will explain that slowly. We have the Homo sapien. Okay, and then we have Homo neanderthals and Homo denisovans and the Homo sapiens sapiens. So Homo sapiens sapiens are the last common man, or the modern man that we all are. Okay, so keep in mind we have Homo sapiens, and then we have Homo sapiens sapiens. So we as common modern man identify ourselves to be Homo sapiens sapien. Okay, so I know this is little. I'll go next slide. I'll go a little deep dive into the Homo genus. Okay, if you look into Homo genus, you have the Homo habilis, who lived around the time frame of 2.5 million years ago to 1.4 million ago. They have a brain capacity of 550 to 800 cubic centimeters. Okay. Similarly, you have erectus and rudolfensis. They lived around 2 million years ago, and their brain capacity is 775, and so on. Okay, so the next one, as I said, is the Homo heidelbergensis. The reason I say is the last common ancestors is because we see, looking at Homo heidelbergensis, you see the brain capacity comes to 1100 to 1400 cubic centimeter, and which is way higher than any of the above three Homo archaic species. So the first three have a lower brain capacity as compared to heidelbergensis, and the following divergence within the Homo heidelbergensis who have a higher brain capacity. And also we observe that they lived between 600,000 to the current around 50,000 years ago altogether. Now, within the Homo heidelbergensis, what it means is these species, especially the Neanderthals, the Denisovans, and the Homo sapiens sapiens, lived around. There has been common overlap between their when they lived on this earth. Okay, so we see that sapiens is between 200 to 50,000 years ago, while Denisovan also shared the same time on the earth. Okay, and you will also see the brain capacity is more or less around the same range. Okay, the reason I showed you all of these things is the science considers Denisovans and Neanderthals to be cousins of the Homo sapiens. Cousins in the sense they lived around the same time. Now, having said that, okay, what it means is now I'm going to take you to next level. The question is, who are these humans in the genus Homo? The thing is that today, if you look in our people from, people outside Africa and people, they have almost 2% of their DNA coming from matching with the Neanderthals' DNA. And especially the oceanic population have another 2 to 4% on top of the other ones DNA that is matching with Denisovans. Okay, so we know that Homo heidelbergensis is the immediate progenitor of Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. Okay, now these Neanderthals, we will often find Neanderthals in our education system. When we study that we do come across Neanderthals, and we know that they lived in the Middle and Eastern Europe. They lived in warmer extreme climates. Okay, and they lived through the Ice Age, because of which their structure has been a little different. Like they are more wider, more squatter than as a human, as a human being. They have shorter legs. Their rib cage are quite different than us. But then, what we have, I'll show you how we have reconstructed the image of a Neanderthals or a Denisovans. The thing is that today, if you clean up those guys and you put them a suit and a bag, they will look no different than a modern man. So that is the observation about Neanderthals and Denisovans who lived on site with Homo sapien. This is just a background to the whole topic that I want to reach out to. So, okay, now here is the thing. Sorry, okay. As I said, Josh Swamidass, okay, who is a computational biologist, what he has said is that if you look at the genetics of the population, okay, it is not possible for an 8 billion population to come from a single couple, Adam and Eve. As per his mathematical calculation and his studies, okay, and again, they are highly educated, published piece of work I'm talking about. They need this. His statement is we need at least 10,000 breeding couples to begin with in order to get a population of 10 billion, 10,000, 8 billion populations. Okay, and in not only the size of the population, but we also see there is a multiplicity of alleles. That means that defines our DNA structure. Okay, it would take. We have so many different, these alleles define the color of our skin, the color of our eyes, and so many other genetic factors. Okay, it would take 18 million years if it has to come from one human couple. So that's what this thing. Second, as I said, the other thing that I mentioned about the population size. The next is the divergence of alleles. So it will take millions and millions of years for the observed divergence of alleles to have risen from a common ancestor. So in a nutshell, what he is trying to say with data, with statistics, to prove that it is not possible for such a large population to come from one single couple. Okay, that's the population. What is population genetics saying? Now, Let's get into this topic. Okay, so we have a traditional view, the view that we all hold, that is the Adam and Eve are the universal common ancestors. Okay, that every living human being are a descendants of Adam and Eve, and Adam and Eve were the only one living on this earth, and there were no people outside the Garden of Eden with whom their progeny could interbreed. So I'll pause here to say one more thing. As part of Josh Swamida's argument of genetic population, what rather science today believe is that the Homo sapiens has interbreed with Homo Neanderthals and Homo densivans. Okay, so there has been interbreeding between these two sets of species. Okay, that is what they say. That's the reason why we have almost 2% of the world population has got certain a population has got genes or DNA matching to these archaic species. Okay, but as the traditional view is that there were no people outside the Garden of Eden, and the Bible verses that support these things are like Genesis 2 verse 5. There was no man to till the ground, and therefore God created Adam out of the dust of the earth. And second, Eve was called the mother of all living things because there was no man, and they were the founding parent. Okay, so that's the traditional view which we all hold, and we all believe in too. Okay, but at the same time, I also want to tell you there is a young life creationist view. This view is not coming just because of somebody raising a questions, because I will tell you where it leads to. So what they believe, young life creationists believe, that Adam and Eve were special creations of God few thousand years ago. Okay, even though man and God created Adam and Eve nearly 6,000 to 10,000 years back and placed them in the Garden of Eden. While outside the Garden of Eden, there were primates, okay, who continued to evolve, okay, who continued to exist through evolution, and they evolved into Australopithecines. Okay, that's the term for the primates, and developed into different form of Homo sapiens. And these people were capable of having a sexual relationship with the progeny of Adam and Eve. And that's the reason why we have such diversity of alleles and those are the reasons. So young life creationists believe that Adam and Eve was placed in the Garden of Eden, and whereas there were people outside the Garden of Eden who came out, where the story of evolution continued, and it's when Adam and Eve were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve's progeny at some stage bred with the progenies of these archaic humans. So that is the young life creationist view. Now, does Bible indicate? I know this question even came up in one of our discussions. Does Bible was indicate that were there people outside the Garden of Eden? There are some verses that gives some kind of a clue. One is Genesis 4 verse 4, that from the story of Cain, he says that I shall be a vagrant and a wanderer on earth, and it will come about that whoever finds me will kill me. Okay, so Cain is making the statement. Then we see in the continuing verse where God puts a mark on Cain and says that no one finding him would slay him. Okay, and then following verse, Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, and we read further that he built a city in the land of Nod. So when Cain is saying that somebody who will find me will kill me, who is that person? Who are those people? We know that when we believe that Adam and Eve were the original progenitor of the human race, okay, Cain is a very prominent member. He is the third most important person in that family. Even though Adam and Eve had other children, and the progeny would have increased. Okay. Um, but still, even if we have a large number of people on this earth that's coming from Adam and Eve, they would definitely know Adam and Eve. They definitely know Cain. So they know who Cain is. He's a prominent member of the family. And why would they kill a prominent member of family? Maybe his children or his grandchildren or his, maybe Seth's children or grandchildren. They all would know, and they would, since the population is very less. So why would they kill him? So that's indicating that there were people, or there could be somebody who is living outside the garden, or who are on this earth, who could find him and kill him, and God puts a mark. And then again, he is building a city, and you cannot simply build a city with very less populations. It seems to indicate something more than these things. Okay. Now again, I will say that Bible just gives a clue of things of the past and of the future. Only when we meet God, when we have when you are in the presence of God, we have the ultimate knowledge, where we will get to know what really happened. So, that's a core point. But at the same time, we are trying to understand how to answer questions that come our way. So this is what does Bible indicate. Some people could interpret it that way. Okay. Now, when we try to solve this answer, there are some questions that we need to still ask. Okay, what does it mean to be a human? So we had a discussion in our Sunday school class last week, and we were talking about abortion, and we're studying this topic of abortion. And there are a lot of cases that present as a child is less human, fully human. And so there was debate going on, and I asked this question: what does it mean to be a human? Okay, I'll pause it. Yes, please, brother, go ahead. Yes, brother, you can ask your question. Yeah. Tintu, brother, are you asking a question? Sorry, I saw your hand raised. I was wondering if.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was asking the question. I didn't know that it was not getting through. Okay.
No problem.
My question was this, that I have multiple questions, but I just want to ask the main question over here is that in regards to there are multiple. So since Adam and Eve are the chosen people or the separated people, how did death come into the world for the other people? Because they technically did not sin. I mean, I'm just asking the question because technically speaking, they are not the offspring of Adam and Eve. Ergo, they shouldn't be under the sin because they don't have any sinful nature. Because again, God, assuming that in evolution, whatever it is, they shouldn't have sinful nature. If that is, if so, that if they did get sin, from where did they get sin? One, and if so, how did Jesus's crucifixion save them? I mean, do these people get saved or not?
It's a very valid question. So let's come to this question at the end of our class, okay? Because
Yeah,
I'm going to
sure.
address some things I'm going to address in my class. It's a very valid question, and really want to talk through this one, okay?
Yeah. So what you can do is that once you, I mean, we'll be leaving in maybe 5-10 minutes. So you can just, let us know. I mean, we'll hear the recordings. That should be fine.
Sure, I will answer this question, as part,
Thanks.
yeah. And we can even discuss this thing as part of the next question. But thank you for raising this question. I really want to
Yeah.
address this one. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on, let me continue sharing my screen. Okay. So again, what defines a human? Okay. What is different from human than any other creatures? And the features of a modern human behavior is one, abstract thinking. We as human beings can think critically. We can think out of the box. We have design thinking. So we have a very abstract, logical thinking, reasoning. These are the characteristics of a human being, which is not there you see will not see in animals. Even if they have in animals or any other creatures, it must be in a very small level. They don't think, they don't do logical reasoning. Okay, they don't do a lot of things like the way we think. Second is in-depth planning. When we construct dams, we construct projects, we have an in-depth planning. We don't see such kind of an in-depth planning coming from any other creatures. And we also have the behavioral innovations, economic innovation, technological innovations, which you will never find in any of the species. You will never see any animal, a lion, repenting after killing any other or eating any other deer. You will never see anybody going and mourning for somebody, any other creatures after killing them. So these kind of repentance, a heart to repent, is only unique and not there in any other religion. Also, we can talk symbolically, through actions, through figuratively. So these are certain. So when you say a human being, it's not just being. There are much more deeper things than we see in these any other creatures around us. Even though those creatures are highly intelligent, for example, raven is one of the most intelligent species. But there are many differences. This sets us apart. And when we studied about in Genesis, we know we are a three-tier creatures as compared to two-tier creatures, right? Even though the two-tier creatures with short-legged, long-legged creatures, which has got, which serves man, which bonds with man, but we are different. They are two-tier and we are three-tier. We have a spirit, and there are a lot of things that comes from the spirit. For example, the moral law, which is written in the spirit. There is no moral law written for any of these creatures, right? So that is what makes us human. Okay, we have the changes us from human. Now the next question, as brother raised, are Heidelbergensis, Homo heidelbergensis, Neanderthal, Denisovans human beings? Okay, are they human? Now, the image that I am displaying is the reconstructed facial forensic of a Homo heidelbergensis. This is how a Homo heidelbergensis would look like. Okay, and then the next one is the Neanderthals, an elderly Neanderthal man. This is how he would look like, and the bottom one is also a Neanderthal young child. Okay, the thing is that you arrive at this kind of image based on what we have extracted or what fossils we have. So the main evidence which is for the sciences, we have extracted or we have discovered evidence. We have got fossil remains of these archaic human species, and not just the fossil remains of them, but we have discovered much more than those things. Okay, and when we do the carbon dating, we know that they are way of that age, maybe millions of years old. Okay, for example, I'll show you the next slide. What are the artifacts that we have discovered? Okay, for example, we have discovered a cave in France. Okay, which is one of the oldest cave, which is nearly 176,000 years old. A cave which has got constructed by man. Then we have this is a spear which was a sculptured tool. Spear which was used by these archaic human beings dating around 400 to 300,000 years ago for hunting. So, and we have seen art, okay, cave paintings which are like 60,000 years, 70,000 years old paintings in Spain, and in different part we have discovered multitude of paintings by these archaic human beings. Okay, so when we look at now, when we discovered Heidelbergensis, okay, the last known common ancestor, along with him we found when I say we means the scientists or the archaeologists, they found a spear next to him. Okay, and that spear is a sculptured spear, not just any stick or anything like that. It's a spear which he was using for hunting. Okay, so what it means is now that when you look at these archaic human beings, as I said, they compare the brain size. They have a brain size which is very much in relationship to our brain size. Okay, maybe from 1000 to 1300 cubic centimeters. Okay, so their brain size, now the brain size doesn't, when I say brain size, if you see whale has a large brain size, elephants have larger brains, but when you brain, you have to understand that brain size as compared to the body ratio. So that is very important. So when you compare the brain to the body ratio, a higher brain size indicates a higher cognitive capacity, not merely compared to the body size, brain size in comparison to the body size. You will find that you derive that the if the ratio is good, which means you have a higher cognitive ability. And the second, all the tools shows that it is not just random sticks, but it is specially carved, sculptured tools which they use for hunting and for their survival. And they lived in caves. They have paintings in cave. They're trying to express their feelings, their emotions through their paintings, and very massive, color coordinations and so much of things. And we also know that they are big game hunters, and unless to hunt big games, big animals, if you want to hunt, you cannot just simply go with a spear. You need proper planning and coordinations. Even to hunt down alligator is not easy. To hunt down any wild beast is not easy. You need a proper coordinations. What this is trying to indicate is that looking at all of these things, their ability to think, rationalize. The question is, are they humans? Are these archaic humans whose fossils we have discovered, which is dated, and we know they really exist, like 400,000, 600, 700. The Heidelbergensis that we discovered in the recent time is nearly 700,000 years old. So we know that they exist, but the question is, are they humans? So that's coming to the question which brother asked. Okay. So again, with regards to that, there are again two views. This is a view which was presented by apologist William Lane Craig. So according to him, he sees that they are no less human being. Okay, they are no less. They are equally created in the image of God, and based on all of these factors that I just presented, they have to be they are also created in the image of God. So if they are created in the image of God, then how do we handle it? So what he would do is he is pushing the age of Adam to about 700,000 years ago. He says Adam is because we know Bible cannot error. So he makes Adam as the geological ancestor to Neanderthal, Homo sapien, and Heidelbergensis and Homo sapiens and sapiens, all of these things. So he makes them Adam. He was pushing the age of Adam to 700,000 years old in order to accommodate all of these people, all of these archaic humans. From not the one with the 500 cubic brain size, Erectus or Rodolphensis, but the Heidelbergensis and thereafter. He is pushing and nothing, because he takes a view that they are no less human than us, and they are equally created in the image of God. So this is the geological view which the apologist is taking. And so if he does that, he solves the problem of all of the genetics, population genetics issue, and that's how he defines that. Then there is another view called the non-human hominid view. Okay, here the view is that these hominids lived outside the Garden of Eden, and they were not truly human. Okay, they were advanced primates, and who had the biologically capable of producing progeny, but they were not created in the image of image of God. Okay, so in the line, while they existed outside the Garden of Eden, it is possible for the progeny of Adam and Eve to interbreed with the progeny of this non-human hominid. Okay, and they believe that God made them specifically. They did not come out of even I hold a view that they were not product of evolution, but God created them specifically to occupy the earth, because to prepare the earth for, as we say, before man comes to this earth, to prepare this earth. And they lived on this earth and they became extinct, and Psalms 104 verse 29-30, I have quoted this in the past as well, to say that all these dinosaurs and all of these people, all of these creatures, including the hominins or primates, they lived on this earth. They were created by God, specifically individually created by God, but they lived on this earth to occupy this earth as God desired, and when the time is over, they became extinct. So this is a second view called the non-human hominid view, where they lived outside the Garden of Eden and they were not in the image of God. But the real question is then, what then is the image of God? When we say that they are non-humans or not truly human, fully humans, the question is, what sets apart Adam and Eve is they are created in the image of God. So I will also talk about what is the image of God before I conclude this thing. When you say image of God, okay, people try to interpret it in many ways. The what it means is created in the image of God means having the value system of God. Okay, when you say value system of God, it means you see how God sees, you hear as how God hears, you understand as how God understands, you respond as how God would respond, and you make decisions as how God would make a decision. So that's being the image of God. We understand the image of God in the likeness of God means having the value system of God, especially the moral aspects. Okay, many other aspects of God has given those specially these things in us. Okay, so this is the image of God, and that we understand we as humans are unique than the others because of the way in which we are created. So I also want to tell you that later on a study was done called the single couple origin model. I have the paper with me. What this study says that they had to alter certain, if you correct some of their data, of the computational data which Josh Swamidas is talking about, genetic population is talking about, we can arrive at, we can say that entire 8 billion population today can come from a single couple. That's the single couple origin model. What they mean is there was some kind of changes has to be made, a slight change, minor modification to the model. We can arrive at this, that Adam and Eve could be, is the original progenitor of today's human population, the Homo sapiens sapiens. So in this study, okay, this is not study done by Christian, but a proposed study by the universities, and they have established that Adam and Eve are the universal ancestors of all human beings. So having said that, so what I just presented to you is that we have historical archaeological evidence of archaic human beings who lived so many years back, and we don't, as Christians, we don't say that man has evolved from chimpanzees, and these are not interstage species, but there are two ways they are specifically created by God. One view is that they are a progeny of Adam and Eve. That's the genealogical ancestral view, and the other one is non-hominid view. I will also say that as part of gap theory, when we study gap theory, we say that hominid existed as part of Satan's rule on this earth. But that's again, there's a gap theory. But going through the progressive creation theory, we believe that I am more inclined to believe that they are non-human humanids who lived outside the Garden of Eden, whom God specifically created to occupy this earth, and they did their purpose, and they became extinct. Whether human progeny of Adam and Eve ever interbred with those things, it could be possible, because when we studied about Nephilims, okay, we know that Ben Elohim, they could get into a relationship with human women. So that is possible, and I believe the same could be possible with the humans created in the image of God, we who are created in the image of God, and then we could also sin in those lines with having relationship with this non-humanoid view. So my view is that they are non-human humanoid view. I don't believe in evolution. I believe in especially they are specifically created by God, and they are placed, they occupy the earth. So this is when it comes to archaic human beings. I'll pause my class here to hear from you if you have questions before I head towards answering Titu brother's question. If you have any questions or view to add, please let me know.
Brother, what like I said, this is all new, right? Different kind of thinking, and what makes me wonder was if they are saying that the single couple, right? Then why are those features so different? I know it got very, they look a bit like humans, but it's like, if there's you really can't compare. So even when I was listening to you right from the beginning, right? Satan's agenda was telling Eve, did God really tell you that? That was his agenda from the beginning. So all of these findings could even be, something that Satan is trying. Yeah, I know you're saying it's scientific. I get that. But this is a thought that came to my mind while I was listening, because right from the beginning, that was Satan's agenda, saying, is this what God really intended? Is this what? And you're saying, they are saying the single thing. But if that is the case, I am thinking, why are they looking like, Adam and Eve didn't look like that, or Cain and Abel, but you're right in the sense that I also have heard that, there were other creatures outside of the people, and they did a purpose. That was a good point. I've heard that before, and I can relate to that. But, just it's difficult for me. That's all. It's my comment. It's difficult for me to comprehend the fact that if, the same people who are saying about all of this history or, creatures, they're also saying they are, they moved Adam now to this, whatever that many years ago, and making them the couple. So, but the features, how come it's so different? You understand what I'm saying? That's all I had to do.
Yes, yes, absolutely, Auntie. I agree with you fully, and I am also aligned with that. I don't want to, as a teacher, when I teach, I have to present all the views, right? And I just say, what is that I am more inclined. So I don't align with the geological ancestor view, where Adam and Eve are the progenitor of Neanderthals and Denisovans. I don't believe. Because I believe that Adam and Eve were created specifically, and they were created, with the moral image of God. And what these people say, that why they consider them also to be in the image of God is, why they say is they look different, is because they lived through harsh climate, warm climate, they lived through ice age, if you see the age. So in order to adapt themselves to that climate and that lifestyle and those kind of rigorous environment in which lived, that automatically the adaptation came into picture, where they were squatter, their rib cage was different, and so on. But I am as I said, I am of the view they are non-human hominids, right? They are primates who lived outside and who are not in the image of God. And there could be many things that has happened, and when Satan must have corrupted them, and in order to and then probably God may have created human beings who were not part of that. He didn't want to, I'm assuming, it's very difficult for me to to come to any strong conclusion on that, why God what was our whole purpose behind that, because um, um, I can only say that Bible says that we are created in the image, Adam and Eve are the creator of the image of God, and we are progeny from Adam and Eve. We are the progeny from the Adam and Eve. That's all I can say. Mm.
No, thank you. That makes sense. A lot of sense. Thank you for, explaining that out, because, so when you said you as a teacher, you present all the views, that's, that skipped my mind. So that makes it even better. But thank you. I know you were rushing to claim Tintu's. I don't know if Manoj has the questions, but yeah, I'll rather listen to what you're answering Tintu's question. That's all for me.
Okay, sure. And so, having said that, this is the whole point that we are making is these are not interspecies between chimpanzee and human being. That's what the main focus is. We consider them to be a separate, unique creation as non-human hominids, and not the change in the stage of evolution from chimpanzee to man. And when people raise this question, we address it by saying that they are not. They are, we can say that we understand that these creatures lived outside, but they are not modern man that we talk about. Now, okay. Now, coming to the question of, Tintu brothers asking, how did they die? How did death come? And the second is, do they form part of God's plan of salvation? It's a very tough question, because sometimes it is like we're trying to understand God's mind, which is not easy. We know only what has been revealed to us. Okay. Now, when I say death, because I believe, whether you believe in gap theory, and when you believe in progressive creation, we understand that death was always in the design of God. Okay, if you go by gap theory, you will see the animals and plants have died. Dinosaurs lived and became extinct. All of these creatures lived in. So death was not uncommon. Okay, so death was taking place even among the non-human hominids. Okay, only Adam and Eve was created to live eternally, but because of sin, death entered. It is impacting them. Otherwise, if Adam and Eve would not have sinned, they would not have died. They would have lived eternally. So, for them, yes, their death would take place. And the progressive creation, very clearly, if you believe that, we know that they were supposed to die. Only Adam and Eve were supposed not to die. So, when it comes to Adam and Eve, I've explained how death had taken, how, the that aspect I've explained. So, physical death was the consequences of their sin. Okay, but outside the Garden of Eden, they were not part of this view. So they continue to continue to die. Now, when it comes to God's plan of salvation, I personally believe that God's plan of salvation only covered those who are created in the image of God. The whole point is the image of God. What is the view that you take? If you take the view of the genealogical archaeologist ancestral view, then you will consider them to be in the image of God. If you consider these primates or archaic humans as created in the image of God, then definitely the plan of salvation should work for them. Okay, but if you don't, I don't consider them in the created in the image of God. So to me, it doesn't fall in the plan of salvation. But for our class sake, for our study's sake, assuming that they were also created the image of God, and so in that case, I really don't know how exactly to answer this question of how God is covering them in the plan of salvation. It could be the same as we read in the book of Romans, that God has written the moral laws. If God has written moral laws in their hearts, which I don't think so. Okay, looking at I don't think so. But if God had created them in the image of God. That means moral laws had to be written in their hearts. Okay, and in that case, God will have to judge them on the basis of light which God has revealed. That's exactly the verse in Genesis chapter 2, that God will judge them on the basis of the light that He has revealed to them. In whatever way He has revealed to these archaic human beings, God will have to judge them. That is what I understand. So far from the discoveries, we have not seen any tool of worship. Okay, from the artifacts that we have discovered, it's all about spears, caves, and painting. We don't see anything that they were religious people or they had to worship somebody. I don't see that coming out of. So far, we have not found anything. If we had found some artifact that says these archaic human beings had an object of worship, we can understand that probably they had, God had created them in the image of God. Because we don't have, so far we have not discovered, it is difficult for me to say that they are created in the image of God. And if they are not created in the image of God, then they're automatically out of the scope for from the plan of salvation. They just lived and they died. They don't have a soul or a spirit, that going back to God and standing before God for judgment. And if it has to happen, then God will judge them on the basis of how He has revealed. We know that God has revealed Himself through the nature and through the revealed Word of God, and finally for us, revealed Word of God, and through final manifestation of Jesus Christ on this earth. But in those cases, those won't be applicable. So this question will also apply for human beings, okay, who lived on this earth but never heard the gospel, never had the opportunity to hear the gospel, okay, who lived before the coming of Jesus Christ, who are the non-Jews, the Gentiles who lived before the coming of Christ, or who lived after the coming of Christ, or who have never heard a gospel in their life. How would God judge them? Bible says that God would, my understanding is, Bible says that God will judge them on the basis of the light that He has revealed to them, and on the basis of the moral law that He has written in their hearts. So that is basically my point of view in this lines. So yeah, maybe we can talk about it in next class, and address this question for if you have any questions. Okay. So having said that, I will conclude this Genesis and Origin series today. Next week, I will start with the worldviews. I plan to cover Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, naturalism. Okay. These are the 4 major worldviews I will cover at a very high level, and I hope the class there would be interesting. I will wind it up as early as possible to this class before the end of July. I should wind up this class, and and that's what I'm intending. And I believe this class, the religious class, is going to be also very interesting. It's on a different dimension, not the science one. We looked at all of these have their own respective dimensions. So we look at religious worldview, very interesting to see, and then we'll take a wholesome view. I finally concluded by saying that one session on Christian ethics, which is the ultimate. Jesus Christ taught the highest ethical standard. So I won't conclude my class, my whole series, saying that Jesus Christ lived the highest ethical standard, and He left a standard for us to follow. That's where we want to end up. So looking forward to take those class, and so God bless you all.
Thank you, Shivara. This is
Thank
good.
you.
Good learning. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you all. Have a nice
Okay.
day. Yeah.
Okay.
God bless.
Bye.
Bye.